In this video, we will talk a bit about implicit intent. So remember, explicit intents are used explicitly to call something that you know the name of. Now, implicit intents, we are shouting out to the system, is there something that can in fact help me with a specific thing that I want to do? So in the activity main, we're just going to use or do a very simple example. So I'm going to go into the layout and just set it to a linear layout, and where the orientation will be vertical like always. Remove the text view, and then let's go into the design mode. So now in the design mode, or in the design view, we will basically just drag in 2 buttons there. I'm going to drag 1 button, 2, let's drag in 4 buttons, 3 and 4 buttons. On all 4 of them, I want you to go and set the left margin 20, the right margin 20, the top margin, let's say 10 again, and then go down to the bottom, set the text style to bold, set the color, the text color to hash 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Fs, go to the top, and let's set the background property there to color primary. Right, so now we have 4 buttons. So for the first button, I'm going to call that button btn call. And then the text on that button I'll have as call as well. The second button, I'll have the text on that button btn call friend. So that's a bit different. And the text on it, call friend. Then on this button, we're going to have the name btn web. And the text will be open web page or open web. And on the last button, we'll call that one btn map, and we'll say open map. Right, so let's quickly set up these components. So I'm going to go to the main activity, and it's basically just 4 buttons. So I'm going to say button, btn map, we had a btn web, we had a btn call, and we had a btn call friend. Let's set them up quickly in coding. So it's going to be btn, let's start with call equals find the view by its id r.id.btn call. Then for btn call friend, we'll have find view by id, again btn call friend. Then we'll have btn map equals find the view by its id r.id.btn map. And then we'll have btn web should be find the view by its id r.id.btn web. Right, and now we just need to set the onClick listener. So let's start with call.set onClick listener, new onClick listener. Then the next one will be for the call friend. So I'm going to say call friend there, .set onClick listener, new onClick listener. Then after that, we'll go to the map. We set the onClick listener as new onClick listener, and we go to btn web .set onClick listener, new onClick listener. Right, so in this activity, we have set up all the buttons. So now let's look at what is an implicit intent. So in this activity, or in this specific example, we're not going to call other activities, but we will start something, shout out to the system and say, is there an app on the phone that can help me to call? Is there an app on the phone that can help me to call a specific number? That's for the call friend. Is there an app on the phone that can help me to show a web page? And is there an app on the phone to show me how to do a map? So let's do this quickly. I'm going to use an intent again, and I'm going to say intent, or whatever you want to call it, equals new intent. Now in order to call somebody, we're going to say intent.action, and you'll see there's an action dial somewhere. If it doesn't appear quickly enough, you can just start dial there, and you'll see the action dial there. So basically, we're shouting out to the system, is there somebody, or is there an app out there that can help me to place a call? And then we'll start the activity. So we're going to say start activity intent. And by starting this intent now, we are shouting out to the system, is there an app that can help me to open up a dialer so that I can call somebody? So I'm going to run this quickly. Right, so the app is running. If I click on call now, you can see it opens up the phone's dialer. Now, I can just click there, type the number and dial. So this is basically shouting out to the system, is there an app on the system that can help me to dial a number? So if I click there, I'm shouting out to the system and this one responds automatically. So if there's more than one choice of a specific dialer that you can choose from, maybe you've installed a second dialer for your phone, then you'll see a choice for the two that you can select. Okay, so we'll see that now. So this is one way of doing it, but you can see if we click on call, it's just opening the dialer. It's not placing a number there. I must type the number and then make the call. So let's see another version of this, and this is basically where we can say, let's call the friend. So I'm going to copy and paste that line there. Basically the same thing again. But now I'm going to add a second argument there, which means I want to add some extra data to make a phone call to a specific person. So I'm going to say URI.parse uniform resource identifier.parse, and I need to add my string there. Now for a telephone number to display, I'm going to say tel there, and then I can add the number. So 087 or whatever you want to have there. So let's say that's now the telephone number. So I'm passing in, I'm sending through a property, which is a telephone number. So basically now I'm shouting out to the system, is there an app that can help me to dial a number, but to dial a specific number? So I'm sending data with it. Not just normal show me the dialer, but also accepting the data and have that data on the phone for me ready to work with. So if I click on call, it will just be the normal number there. So where's call? That one there. Right. So if I go back now and I click on call a friend, you will see that number that I had there is the number that was placed there now, and the user can just click on the call button. So these are two different types of shoutouts to the system. Now, before we go to showing a map and showing a web page, I want to show you how we can create an app that responds to these two shoutouts to the system. So what I want you to do is to go and create a new Android Studio project. So go to new project, and then let's create a new project. And I'll call this one false phone, because we're not going to really create a dialer, but just to see how our app can also respond to calls. So I'm going to say false phone. Let's call it also false phone video. So that's the false phone, and I'm going to say next. I'm going to say next again, and say finish. So it's a new application that we're building. So let's just wait for this application to finish, and then we'll look at it. Right, so here we are at the new, basically not the new activity, the new application. So it's another application, totally different from the one that we're currently working on, which is called Implicit Intents Video, the one with the buttons. So I'm now on a brand new project. Okay, so in this project, you can see it's basically just an empty project. So let's go to the layout quickly, and I'm going to set the layout there, change the constraint layout there to a linear layout. I'm going to set the orientation to vertical, and let's remove that text view. Right, so now in the design view, we're going to add only one text view there. And let's go to the properties and set the style to bold, and we're going to set the size. Let's make it a bit bigger. Let's make it 18. And I think we can also have it gravity center horizontal. Right, I think that would be fine. Let's just add a margin on the left, 20, on the right, 20, and at the top, 10. And then we'll display the text there. Just, come on, just kidding. Cannot really place a call. Right. So this is not a real dialer, but just to simulate how we can respond to requests from the system. So this app will just say, just kidding, cannot really place a call. Now, if you go into your manifest folder, you'll find one file called the Android manifest. So open up that manifest file, and you'll see, you don't need to add these enters just for me to explain there. You can see that there's an activity tag that indicates the main activity. In that activity tag, we've got a filter tag. So this filter basically tells us that the main activity is the main activity of this application. Remember, I can name this anything I want right at the start. So whether you call it main activity, the word main there won't make it the main activity. This word there will make it the main activity, and that's the activity that will launch. So what we can do now is to add another intent filter here. So I'm going to say intent filter, and then you're going to close the intent filter and just add an enter there. So you can see there's an action and a category. So we're going to also include an action there. So I'm going to say action, and the name there for the action here will be android.intent.action dial. So if it's not picking up directly there in your list, you can just start typing dial, and you should get to android.intent.action dial. And then you just close it down with a /. And then the only thing that we must add here also is the category. So I'm going to open the tag, set a category there, and then the category for this will be the default category. And you can close it again. So now what we're saying here is that this activity of ours, the main activity, will listen for shout outs from the system that has got the action dial. So if I run this application now on the same device, make sure you're running it obviously on the same device. So I'm going to leave that application open, and I'm going to run it on the same device. Let's just wait for it to run quickly. Okay, so now you can see this app is running, and it says just kidding, cannot really place a call. So I'm going to remove this app totally from memory. Remove it. Let's go back and remove the dialer as well, so that we are back at our implicit intents video. So if I click on call again, you can now see I've got a choice between my false phone, this application that is currently running on the phone, and the normal phone's dialer. So I can choose now. So why do I have this list now here? Because I said on false phone that it must listen for the action dial shout out to the system. And if it hears that action shout out of dial, it must make itself available. So now it is available. I can use just once there or click on it, and it says just kidding, cannot really place a call. So I'm going to go back, and if I click on call friend now, the one that gives you the number already filled in, you can see that this app did not respond at all. So what we need to add then to respond to the telephone category, where we actually have some data extra, we need to use the data part as well here. So we're going to use the Android scheme. So if you go down somewhere there, you should have it. So you can just type scheme as well. So you need Android scheme there. And what we need to add there as a string is just tell there, and then close it off. So now this should respond to the one that also sends the number. So let's run this again. So now the app was running again. Now let's just remove it from memory as well as the dialer. Let's go back. So now if I click on call friend, you can see we've got the choice again, either phone or the false phone. Right. But now if I go back to call, I do not have that choice anymore, which means this is two different intent filters. So this one on its own is an intent filter. So just copy that one, paste it, and delete that tell part there. And you can see this application will then act on dial with information as well as dial without information. So now if you run the application, you should see that our application responds to both of those calls. Let's just see quickly. Right, let's just remove this from memory again, as well as the dialer again. And now if I click on call, you will see I've got the option between the phone or the dialer, or just the false phone as well. I can choose false phone there. Right, as well as if I click on call friend, I also have the choice. So it's picking up for both of them. Right, so let's look at the second one now. If I click on call friend, you will see if I click on phone there just once, you'll see the phone shows me the number there. So how can I get this data that was sent through on this activity now, or on this specific application? So there's a way to do that, so that if I click on call friend and I click on false phone, that I can show the number there that I want to dial, for example, the data that was passed through. So let's go to the main activity there quickly, and we'll do, I think we've got the text view there. If we've got the text view, let's just call this text view TV message. Go back to the main activity, and let's set it up there as text view TV message, and we'll say TV message equals find the view by its ID r.id.tv message. Right, and then after this, we can now try and get that data. So I'm going to use that with an if statement. So get intent, remember get intent gets the intent that activated this activity. So the intent that activated this activity will basically be from our other application. If you remember this one, from our other application, we had the intent that started action dial or this one. So with this intent that started it, we've got this extra data. So I'm referring back to that specific intent. So back at this project, let's just go up a bit. Get intent now refers to the intent that started it. And I'm going to call get data on it. And I can check now if that data is not equal to null. Then I know that there was data with it. The else means they didn't send data with that intent. So I'm just going to say here tvMessage.setText, no data received. And there I will say tvMessage. What is it doing now? It's a live template here now. Let's just go with tvMessage.setText. And then the text I want to set there is the data. So I'm going to say get intent dot get data dot toString, and that converts whatever data was sent through as a string. So let's quickly see if we run this now. We will either display the data, the telephone number, or we will say no data received. So let's quickly look at it. Right, so there the app started, and you can see no data received because we just started it from the normal application. Okay, so now if we go back to our initial application, if I click on call there, and I click false phone, use the false phone, you can see no data received because I did not pass through a telephone number. But this button passes through a telephone number. So I'm going to open up that false phone of mine, and you can see there's the data pass through. So this is how we can create an application that responds to shoutouts on the system. Okay, so now let's quickly do the last part, and the last part will be to show a map and to show a web page. Right, so to show a map, we're going to say intent equals new intent again. Now instead of saying intent action dial, you don't dial a map, you view a map. So we're going to say intent dot, now if you just type that correctly, if you start typing view there, you can see there's an action view. So we want to view a web page or a map. So for both the web page as well as the map, we're going to use the action view. Then the second argument, we're going to use that URI.parse again, like we did there. In this case, we had a telephone number. For a map, we're going to have a geolocation. So you need to add GEO. And then you need to start with a 0,0, a question mark, and a Q to start a new query for where you want to show a location on the map. So now after the Q and the equal, you can start typing any address there. So I'm going to have, let's say 155 Stateway, Welkom, Free State. I think that would be enough data. So you can add your address there, your town, your state, wherever you are. And then I'm just going to call start activity, passing in that intent. Okay, so we're going to test this one now. So let's just do the web as well and then test both of them. So for the web, it's basically the same thing. We're just going to say intent equals new intent. The intent there, or the action that we're going to use there, intent dot again view, action view. Again, we're going to say URI.parse, but in this case, it will just be a web page. So you're going to say HTTPS or HTTP, and let me just go to backendless.com for an example. Go to any web page. Okay, and then start activity, passing in that intent. So now we basically, with these two, we're shouting out to the system, is there an application that can help with the action view, but it must be the filter where we also pass a geolocation, which means it must be some type of map application to help me show this location. And then also for the web, we're shouting out, is there an application that can help me with the action view with extra data that contains a web page? So let's run this and see if there's applications on the phone that can help me. Obviously, every single Android phone will have a map application and will have a web application, either Chrome or maybe its own type of web application or web browser. So let's click on Open Web there, and you can see it gives me a choice. I'm not sure if that one will work, but Chrome will work. So I'm going to say just once, and then it opens up Chrome. I can say accept and continue, next. I'm not going to sign in now. And you can see that it opens up that web page for us that we indicated there. So it depends on your connection speed of your computer, if you're running the virtual device, on how fast it will open up the web page, obviously. So there it opens up the web page. That one is working 100%. Let's see the map. So on the map, we're shouting out now, is there one that can show me this specific location? I'm just going to skip there. Let's just try that again. I canceled it now. So click on Open Map. It opens up the map, and you can see it's exactly what you typed there. It will go to 115 Stateway and show the marker on the screen. So this is a nice way for you to give contact details or something on your app for your users to use. So you can let them call you by using this one. You can let them find you or go to your web page. And that's basically implicit intent. So implicit intents is just shout out to the system, is there something that can help me with a specific action? And then other applications on the Android system can respond to help you out.